getting a standard start. So what are you hoping to see from our uncle today?
Well, I know one thing we're not going to be seeing. We're definitely not going to be seeing that sword. I would personally like to see a bomb escape. Those are always very interesting to watch. Very high skill and execution will be required in that form. So I think that would be probably the most interesting thing to see here. What about you?
I personally love to see the Cane of Samaria. I think it's one of the most interesting weapons in the game that never really gets. It doesn't get enough use in the standard run because it comes just so late into the game itself.
Yeah, it's a very versatile tool for sure. You can do some really cool things with it. But we're going to be getting the hammer, which is a very important item because this is swordless. Hammer, in a way, kind of acts like your sword item for the most part. So anything you'd normally use the sword for, you can definitely use the hammer as a very valid replacement, and we'll need that to actually fight Ganon with it as well.
Absolutely. It is very big on these runners' minds to see that hammer right away. We don't have to spend a lot of the time hunting our way for that hammer, the single biggest weapon in this game. As we are seeing our first few checks, we're looking at seeing a little bit of the taste of what retro mode includes. It's giving us a taste of Zelda 1 in our Zelda 3. Keys are altered in the item pool and can also be purchased from specific shops, just like in Zelda 1. There are also 4 Take Any caves added to the game, which can give you a choice between a blue potion refill or a heart container. Now, those are not eliminated. That does not affect the eliminated heart containers from hard mode. However, if you gain an extra heart piece or heart container, it'll be converted.
Yes, and another aspect is that much like Zelda 1, when we get the bow, instead of arrows, we actually use our own currency to fire the bow. And we actually just found the silvers, another very important item for swordless. And with the rupees being our ammunition for the arrows, silvers will cost 50 rupees a pop. So there's going to be some very expensive arrows we have here.
But as we all do have the hard mode enabled, the silver arrows will not be active anywhere except for in Ganon's room.
That is also true. I almost admittedly forgot about that, but yeah. But when we get to Ganon, those will be some very expensive ammunition that we will have with us if we have the rupees.
So you'll need at least 200 rupees when you drop on down to face the big pig if you want to take him down easy.
That's right. Another thing we actually got, both of our runners did manage to find a bomb in Escape as well. So because of that, we'll be able to check the final 3 chests on our way out once we get Zelda from here. And we find another small key inside Zelda's cell here.
We are definitely setting ourselves up for a nice early start. A few extra keys, and finding that bomb is a huge relief off of both these runners' minds. They don't have to spend a large amount of time looking for a bomb.
Definitely.
So far, despite the variations, it's given us quite a bit of the tools to feel good early. The weight off your mind of finding those silvers for Ganon and just having the hammer to have the most effective melee weapon that that is available to us in this swordless seed.
Yeah, one thing you have to keep in mind is the hammer will do tempered sword damage, and once you have tempered, you generally feel pretty comfortable as it is. So in a swordless seed like this, finding the hammer as early as possible is definitely something you want to run into.
Taking a look at some of the other changes to made because this is swordless. The medallions cannot be used except for on their specific tiles. There have been some bombos tiles added to the rooms that have freezors to kill in Ice Palace, so they are killable.
That is correct. And as far as all the rooms that you would normally need a sword to, like, cut open some curtains or something in Aga Tower or in Skull Woods, those are already open from the get-go, so you do not need to worry about needing a sword for those dungeons. You can go straight in if you have the weapons to finish the dungeon.
And the hammer is also now able to damage Ganon and also able to reflect the balls from Aghanim.
Looks like we did find a small shield here inside the escape. Nothing too substantial. Argel does find another bomb, so that'll give him an extra check when he gets to Kakariko.
I definitely want to find more bombs on the ground, because with this being retro mode, money management is another thing that's that is added to this game, which is typically not something you really have to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
Keys cost the game will expect you at some point to purchase some of these keys. And as we see our first green 20 on BigDunka's side, that would have been our first sword.
Yeah, that is one thing the developers decided to kind of include for fun, just so you can kind of, just have that fun little knowledge that, okay, if this wasn't swordless, I could have gotten a sword here. It could be kind of fun to find out that kind of stuff.
All right, and Argel picks up yet another bomb, so they're getting close to the ones they would need to get through the Kakariko check.
Yeah, Argel especially, that'll allow him to check both the bomb walls in the greenhouse as well as the well. So because of that, he can get those two checks, and if he still doesn't get a bomb, he'll be close enough to the shop so he doesn't have to walk all the way down to it if he'd entered without any bombs.
And if he does have a bomb in hand, so he could walk down to the shed in the bottom left-hand corner of Kakariko Village and just farm bombs there.
That is true. Yeah, that is another thing he can do as well.
All right, Dunka's going to go ahead and check on this tree, pull some fairies. Just some good information to keep in mind. Our Hoarder Crab is holding on to small magic decanters. Can't complain there. In the early game, get yourself that early magic fill. And looks like Argel is going to go for what is typically a somewhat standard retro start of doing a hula hand to get those extra rupees to buy, because the hula hand gives you enough to buy 3 keys on its own.
Yes, definitely. And I couldn't quite see what was in the lumberjack. It looked like a bottle, which not too bad. We should be able to find another one, so Sick Kid shouldn't be too hard to get to, but if there is progression on Sick Kid, that could be our only bottle for a while, so we'll have to see if that is even a bottle after all.
Be curious to see what that comes into. I admittedly did not catch it on this or the restream. Alright, and Argel walks back out, and where are they going to next? They're going to save and quit, and looks like they're going to head over to CAC. Just a bit of cash there in the Lost Woods. Let's see what Kakariko Village has to hopefully send us towards something in this seed.
Now, one thing Dunka is doing right here, he is checking all these kind of single entrance locations that normally wouldn't have an item. Because this is retro mode, these are possible locations that could feature Take Any Caves, which, as you mentioned before, you can find well, actually, you can find a sword upgrade in this because it's retro, but you could find potions or heart containers through those, as we do find the bow inside the tavern here.
That's a nice early find in this swordless seed, though. Money management being a big thing. It is 10 per wooden arrow, and we will technically have to find that shop to use those arrows, and that is the Moon Pearl.
So yeah, Aghanim is definitely going to be fought early here.
But we still have to find the boots.
Yeah, we have to find the boots, and logically, we also have to find the lamp as well. So, yeah, that's interesting. I've never really seen that there before, but yeah, it can be there.
And then, how does the Aghanim gate work on swordless? Do you have to find the cape, or can the hammer take care of it?
I imagine the hammer would be able to take care of it, or it could just be a case where it's automatically open from the get-go, much like some of the other sword blocks. I admittedly do not know for sure, though.
Yeah, that's one scenario I had not looked into before looking into swordless, was the fact that we'd have to face the barrier, but thanks to Kern, it looks like we can just hammer that barrier away.
Well, it's definitely good we found that hammer early then, as we also find the hook shot here in the Kakariko well.
All right, well, we have a lot of stuff starting to open up to us here. Looks like BigDunka is going to head on. It looks like both of our runners are heading into the Thieves' Hut.
Much like Kakariko well, got 5 items in here, so a lot of potential for some hype finds, like the Power Glove, for instance.
It's getting to be pretty bad in here.
And the
there's
boots.
our boots. All right, so we're going fast, and we're lifting, and we're getting strong. And we are making our way into getting our way closer to the things we need for Aghanim 1, which we will need to do now, because that's where our Moon Pearl is locked behind.
That is correct. The only thing they'll need, and it's technically not even required if you know your dark rooms, is that lamp. So the lamp still needs to be found if you want to logically go in there. And honestly, Aga Tower can be pretty tough, even if you don't have the fire rod. So yeah, that could be a very tricky dungeon doing that without the lamp.
I would definitely rate that as a set of some of the more difficult dark rooms to complete in the game.
Yeah, definitely.
Just a lot of enemies to have to keep track of. And our bonk rocks coming up with just a few bucks.
And because Dunka went up there to kind of check that before continuing his Kakariko expedition, both runners are kind of online at the... Well, okay, I guess Dunka's done a couple of these other Kakariko checks first, but still kind of makes up a little bit of the time that Argel spent checking the Hula Hand, as we do find a small key here at the library. Going to pick that up since we have those boots.
All right, and Argel started to go into the chicken hut only to realize, oh wait, I'm out of bombs. Goes into the shop, picks those up, and should be making those checks here and heading south momentarily. Let's see what's hiding on the race game today. Just a big 20. We finally get our map check. I saw a 6 crystal in desert, a 2 crystal, and a 1 crystal for the other 2 dungeons.
Okay, well that's pretty nice. Got a all crystal light world. I like seeing that because those dungeons are pretty short and very quick to get through.
And important to note, in Kakariko there, we found the blue mail, the last upgrade that these runners are going to see. And we see another single entrance check here, and we have found one of our extra shops, so we now have access to the wooden arrows.
And we have some more access to the purchasing of keys as well, so we'll be able to get a couple of extra keys as we go along here through the light world and also through Aga Tower, because now in those treasure chests in Aga Tower, because the keys are shuffled, we're not going to be guaranteed keys when we go through there.
No, absolutely, and it is a nice setup and a very convenient shop to be chosen for a key shop.
Mm-hmm.
It's real close to a save and quit point as BigDunka realizes, oh wait, I can't just dash through those anymore. I don't have a sword, and I never will.
Yeah, pretty much.
It definitely does add a little bit of a catch-22 to those boots. Yes, you're moving fast, but you're also going to run into things.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, and to confirm it, chat, yes, that was bombs on the Hylia Island, so no having to worry about that one.
Unless you just happen to be really, really low on bombs and you're getting ready to head into Ice Palace, then it might be okay, but that's probably not going to be the case.
And Dunka's going to go ahead and grab that heart piece, as there are a lot less of them. There's a max of 14 hearts available to us in hard mode. Every extra little bit of health helps. A lot of those health upgrades are replaced by 5 rupee drop.
Yeah, definitely. And I imagine one thing our runners are definitely thinking about is that Ganon fight at the end. You know, only having blue mail and not having a whole bunch of hearts, that could be a really, really rough fight, especially with Swordless added to the mix as well.
And that hammer hitbox isn't always the kindest, as we have a heart container, the fire shield, 5 rupees, another 5-er, and a small key here in Mini Moldorm for BigDunka, as argelxd is making our first check toward the Eastern Palace area, starting with Saucer Hollow's Closet.
I'm liking this. We're seeing a divergence this early. You don't really see that too often, as we do find the lamp, the flippers, and another 5 rupees in the back here.
Oh, the old man was definitely holding on quite a bit of, that unlocks quite a bit. We now have our logical access to getting our moon pearl via the lumberjack ledge, as well as some more checks. And this early that is open up Zora to us logically, which is not the best check in retro mode, as that's 5 keys you just had to give away for the potential of nothing.
This is true, but one thing our runners could do is they could opt to save and quit and then make a run just to check and see what Zora has, and if it's nothing good, they can just, do a hard reset and save all that money.
Absolutely, and as we find our first check at Eastern Palace to be the Bombos Medallion. 1 of 3 coins collected. We'll see where the other 2 lie, or which ones we actually end up needing, if any at all. Oh, we'll need at least 1. Well, since we only have not seen any pendants yet, they could end up both being on those locked dungeons.
Yeah, that is true.
And BigDunka is making their way over to our first check with our friend the Hobo. He hands us $1 for our troubles.
Man, that can't even fire a normal arrow either, so green rupee still not even that useful, even in retro mode.
And I'd like to give a shout out to Particle Man for the Twitch Prime sub. Thank you so much for the support. Now we find just the map on argelxd's side, and BigDunka is heading nowhere as we find out that a shield requires a bomb. That would have been the mini Moldorm cave. Thanks. The big key traded for a small key. As BigDunka finds the cash hiding out in Saucer Hollow's closet.
So yeah, with the items we have now, we can definitely get through Aghanim's tower within the logic, and we are going to need to do that because our Moon Pearl is inside the lumberjack tree. The only question is, when are they going to go over there and do this? Looks like they're both going to be kind of looking at Eastern Palace first, which is kind of understandable. Only 3 or 4 hearts to both of their name, and going through Aga Tower with no sword the whole way. And, Aghanim's pretty tough to reflect shots with the hammer. I can definitely understand them wanting to make a couple of other light world checks before they go down that road.
And hopefully trying to find that bug net that's potentially easier to make reflections with. It really depends on your personal opinions.
Yeah, that's also something else too.
I would have to lean toward the net being a bit easier, as that hammer hitbox is notoriously something. And Argel showing off just a little bit of the things you wouldn't normally expect to see our runners do through a mode, but because of the extra money management, stopping to pick up those guaranteed pots with money underneath them. Every penny counts in this mode.
If anything, I'm actually a little surprised Argel didn't stop in by the rupee room. When you get into that last dark room, if you go to the right, there's actually a room that actually has quite a number of rupees. It could just be, familiarity with either the main game or even just this mode and not really thinking about that rupee room.
So unfortunately loses a little bit of control of the red Igors, which costs them an extra 20 rupees, and this fight's a little more expensive. And is deciding to go for the arrow route. Unfortunately spends 1 into the wall, but otherwise makes quick work with the Armos Knights. 190 rupees caught, and our first crystal 19 minutes in.
We do get a nice bottle as well, so we have that to look forward to. We can get some nice safeties with that. Unfortunately, not really a fairy, since if we do get the bug catching net, I believe the bug catching net cannot catch fairies, but potions are still fair game.
And that is correct on the bug net, no longer catching fairies. The potions definitely help, though they are not as effective. They will only heal a maximum of 7 hearts and half of the magic meter. And if you're looking on saving magic, don't bother looking for half magic because you're not going to find it. And Argo's going to go ahead and start clearing out their side of South Shore that what they had not checked yet, since they decided to dive eastern first, and Dunka is making their way through the end of Eastern Palace.
An interesting thing to note is that Dunka is actually coming into this area with less rupees than what Argel had, so it might definitely benefit him to check out that rupee room I was talking about earlier, just so he makes sure he has enough money for Armos if he does decide to use arrows against him.
And he does. He does take that time. Oh, he does. Excellent. And then we see an extra rupee farm here visited by argelxd after leaving the Ice Rod Cave. Actually, in the wrong spot. I've looked away for too long. This is definitely the more bountiful rupee farm here down by the Agina area.
Yeah, it definitely is. You get about 50 rupees every time you do this, so nice little rupee farming spot. And Argel's probably thinking that Agata Tower is in his future, so that may be a good time to start stocking up just to have some ammunition to make some of the rooms a little easier.
Oh, definitely. And I mean, he's sitting in a good spot for keys at the moment. I can't imagine this being a key farm at the moment, but
yeah.
Could be interesting how that plays out. All right. Dunka has to spend 180 rupees to take down this fight. It's going for the standard quick kill and making quick work of the Armos Knights here. Absolutely flawlessly executed, and they pick up their first crystal 22 minutes in.
Yeah, I believe he didn't waste a single arrow, so that was really, really well done on his part. Meanwhile, it looks like Argel is going to be checking Agina's cave here before he saves and quits away from this area.
Definitely a smart play, as it's one of those locations that's oft abandoned by runners and can come back to bite you. This time, however, it's just a fiver. It looks like BigDunka is going to go ahead on over, and they're heading to Aga 1.
Yes, they are. They're heading over to Aga 1, getting ready to take on the challenges that await them.
All right, and we will see that indeed the hammer does break down that barrier.
Oh yeah, I guess this would be a good strat to use as well. Dunka using his hookshot and hammer. Actually a very potent combo for this area. It does take a little longer with the menuing you have to do, but it's a effective way to freeze enemies and get the kill on them, so I do not blame him for doing this.
It does give us access to the stun prize, so I don't think it's that great for us today. Actually, that's huge.
Yeah.
2 arrows per stun. Well, a little bit of time spent, but definitely arrows gained. And argelxd was actually farming for Zora.
And he did save and quit, and he didn't get anything from the waterfall cave check either, so we'll see. If he doesn't get anything good, he might opt a hard reset here and save all that money that he just farmed.
And he gets 10% cash back, so he's going to go ahead and smash that reset button.
Yeah, I do not blame him there.
That's one check that's off of your mind.
And I believe Argel still has to do Mini Moldorm Cave, Ice Cave, all those other checks, so he's going to be going over here and doing that.
A little bit of time lost, potentially, but It really just depends on if BigDunka decides to route that in any in the near future.
I believe Dunka has done this already.
I was talking more of the Zora.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's true.
Some cash is in the Swamp Palace big chest. Good to know. So if we don't find that, if we find that big key somewhere, we won't have to go back for that unless it's just convenient. And BigDunka is being pushed into the corner by this red guard.
We'll need to be careful. He is pretty low on health right now, and he does have that Aga fight coming up.
It's a little more difficult than it typically would be. There's no sword to make this a bit easier.
And the net's not available yet either, so, you know, he's going to have to just rely on that hammer hitbox to get through.
Goes and said, hey guys, see you later. Though I have to ask, do you know what, are you familiar with what sprite that is for BigDunka?
Yes, I believe that is Ultros from Final Fantasy VI.
I've only gotten as far as 4. Alright, as we are going to see our sorcerer Aghanim sending away our maiden friend, we notice that the curtain is already cut, so we don't have to worry about that. And now it's time for our first now required first geometry test with our hammer.
Not a bad start.
And a rather kind movement there. He didn't.
Yeah, very true.
What are these teleports?
Ooh, and see, that's where it's going to be a little tricky when he fires those blue energy ball attacks. Not only they prolong the fight, but you can't really reflect them with your hammer.
Alright, and that is our first phase. Only one blue ball so far, and another guaranteed reflectable here. And Argel is going through, and looks like they're setting up the same strategy with the hook shot and hammer. BigDunka takes another hit, and they're done.
Yeah, his strategy, you know, what he could do is he could opt to just take extra time in this fight to just work on the guaranteed normal shots, just so he can get those hits in. That might be his safest play right now.
One would not disagree. I think if my counting is correct, he only has one more reflectable to make.
Yeah, that was one, but, you know, don't want to risk it by getting too close and getting hit by those blue balls.
No, it looks like he's going for that safety strat you mentioned. I definitely could not blame them for that in the slightest. The last thing I want to do is take a death right here on the very last ball. And argelxd is also having issues getting through this maze.
And Dunka does make it through the fight using safe strats. He will make it to the Dark World. Unfortunately, right, the other creature from Final Fantasy VI. Its name is escaping me, but yeah, he doesn't have the Moon Pearl, but we do know where that Moon Pearl is. It is in the Lumberjack tree.
And we are being told that that is a Chupon.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Alright, and BigDunka's gonna go ahead and dash over to that Lumberjack tree and pick up their Moon Pearl, giving them Dark World access. And argelxd is making their way through this Aga 1 climb.
He's about at the same hit points that Dunka had at this point as well, so, you know, we'll have to basically be careful as well when he gets to that Aga fight.
And that's Moon Pearl get for BigDunka. And that's a bush guard.
Gonna stop to farm him, still getting those big 20s, which is not a bad idea.
No,
And looks like he's actually going for Death Mountain now.
I mean, you have logical access to it. Go ahead and pick up the save and quit point.
Mm-hmm.
And you're already at this location, so there isn't a better time really to route in that play.
Yeah, definitely. And with that lamp, we can also, beat Tower of Hera as well, which is a crystal dungeon. So we get a lot of checks from this. Could potentially find Titan's Mitt to further our Dark World access as well. Mirror would be nice to find. That'll allow us to route in some other Dark World checks too. So, and wow, getting 300 rupees right off the bat, definitely nice to get, especially when, we have to use those to fire our arrows.
Now, that is one heck of a tip from the old man. That's 30 arrows or 3 keys.
Definitely.
And there's another key up on the Spectacle Rock ledge. Making our way up, and we'll see what's hiding inside the cave, plus the hint tile. What it is telling us, and that's yet another key.
Ooh.
Okay.
That's good. That's good to know. I mean, we don't need that yet, but it's good to know.
I mean, both of our runners will end up near the village at some point in the future, so that's one thing to check off the list.
Also, we don't even know if
it's necessary.
Turtle Rock is even we don't even know if that's a pendant or crystal yet.
I think though you 100% pick it up, map check or not. And it is a nice weapon that if we gain access to desert, that's a nice way of taking down the Land Molus. And argelxd appears to have taken a death on Aghanim.
Unfortunately, did not realize the strat that Dunka did during the fight, so we'll unfortunately need to make the climb again.
That's going to be a bit of a time loss as we find the mushroom here in Paradox Cave. 5 more checks to make here. Feels good having the hookshot and hammer in this swordless siege to take care of some of the more obnoxious enemies, like these mini Moldorms or Pen Gators when we get to Ice Palace, if we have to get to Ice Palace.
And the last 2 checks we have in Paradox Cave, some bombs and more blue rupees. But yeah, hookshot really, really nice to have, especially when you're still kind of going through old Light World stuff, because a lot of Light World enemies do go down pretty much immediately with the hookshot, and you don't start running into enemies immune to the hookshot until you get the Dark World. So definitely great utilization of that, and also just for a little faster map movement here and there as well.
The hookshot is definitely a very versatile tool in all stages of the game. And being that this is hard mode, it is the only item that stuns, as the boomerangs no longer do so.
Yeah, that's right. Boomerangs are really just glorified switch activators in hard mode, unfortunately. And they can still bring items to you as well.
Absolutely.
Looks like we had another green 20 on top of the Death Mountain Island, so that was another one of our, initial sword locations, if this was not swordless.
All right, and BigDunka is heading over to the Tower of Hera. We have our lamp, so we have our lamp, and we have, importantly, our hammer, so this is fully clearable.
Also manages to pick up a key as well as he goes down to the basement. Kind of a vanilla find there, I guess you could say.
Some cash and a unique item requires the big red bomb. We already know where one of the 5-6 crystals are. But that could also be the single arrow of destiny, or the bug net, or a coin that we don't need.
Yeah, that's true. We'll need a little more information before we decide to go off on that. And, who knows, the 5-6 crystal may be the last dungeon we complete, and therefore it may not even have an item we need. So, good information to backlog, but we'll see if it's necessary later.
And Argel is in here for redemption against Aghanim 1. coming in here with a much larger health pool than the first time. Dunka's gonna have to be careful because this mini Moldorm is giving him a little bit of trouble. And we see that a piece of heart is above the pose, so Graveyard Ledge, probably not going to see that.
Looks like Argel has found a strat that does work for him. He is attacking from a distance, but he's also recognized that because he has the red shield, whenever he strikes the energy ball, or the blue energy balls, the blast will actually ricochet off of his red shield. So he's using that as kind of his strategy here. But, you know, having that distance does sometimes make the main shots kind of go off course, so still has to be very careful during this.
It definitely changes that Prastix fight as BigDunka unfortunately takes a death there.
Yeah, 4-ton weight to the head. That's gotta hurt.
Absolutely. So he's gonna go ahead and climb back up as Argel finally gets their redemption and shows Aghanim how much he cares. Now it's definitely a nice fight from Argel as we get his bunny sprite, and he'll go ahead and check the pyramid ledge and then walk and save and quit out and pick up his moon pearl. Now we actually see, after picking up the moon pearl, where Argel heads next. I'd imagine the mountain probably weighs high on their mind, with just the large amount of checks that are available here.
Yeah, that is definitely a lot of checks you'd want to get out of the way as soon as possible. But, you know, the interesting thing is that, you know, BigDunka's found like a few fetch quest items here and there. Hasn't really found any major progression. So if Argel decides to kind of skip on the Death Mountain for now, could get a little bit of that time back that he potentially lost from, you know, going through the Aga Tower twice.
Absolutely, but they will also have to find their way up here to at least to take on Moldorm at some point.
Yeah, that is
Moldorm
true.
is gone, and we find some bombs.
We'll see if he was item counting, and if he'll go back in if there's an item still in there.
Alright, so that's Moon Pearl get for argelxd. Argel, where are you heading? And looks like it's the mountain.
Definitely makes sense. A lot of items up here. I would probably make the same play too.
And we are leaving the basement of Hera alone.
So he must have found all 3 items then, I imagine.
Kind of throws your count off with the retro logic. The counts are a little bit different than you're used to.
Yeah, definitely. If you play a lot of key sanity, you can kind of figure it out because you're used to the key numbers anyway. But you know, if you don't play a lot of these other variations, that can definitely throw you off a bit because it's, you know, it's very close to what it is in vanilla, but not quite. So you still have to kind of be careful of that.
All right, and Spiral Cave pays off with nothing, so we're done with the mountain until we find the Titan's Myths. Dunka's going to go ahead on down toward the South Shore. I'm thinking a hype cave check is coming up next.
I think so too. 5 items, good place to start.
Can it live up to its former glory, or will it just be the continual stream of meh we're usually seeing? As we see our map check here, all pendants on the left side of the Dark World.
With, I believe, the green pendant in Misery Mire, and I believe our other red crystal is going to be in Palace of Darkness, which would actually be a pretty decent check for BigDunka next. He has a lot of keys that places a lot of items now that it, you know, all the keys are taken out of the consideration for items in there, so it could be a good play for him to go next.
No, there's definitely a lot available to him there, and that opens up that other 5-6. Still need to find our access to desert because we're not finding a whole lot here in Hype Cave, and I'll give it a 1 because heart containers are really hard to find in hard mode.
It is interesting because I've noticed that they haven't really been checking a lot of the Takeny caves for extra containers, so you know, they could actually have a bit more health. Dunka seems fairly comfortable despite only having 5 hearts, which is definitely good to see. I guess that blue mail must give him a little more confidence, which is probably the case.
And bringing up a point I saw in chat earlier today, more weight of not checking those looking for those take any cables comes from the fact that this is swordless, and we're not looking for one of those sword upgrades anymore.
That is true. That is also very true.
Kind of takes away the some of the value of that.
Mm-hmm. These runners are also trying to go fast after all, so if you think you might be confident in finding health along the way, you may just want to just keep on moving.
Interesting to note is that that those hard containers aren't accounted for in the hard mode part of the game, so there's potential to get what should be extra health, but they're just auto converted to money when you actually pick them up.
Mm-hmm. That's correct. But in finding out our crystals and pendants, we do know that ice rod, speaking of rods, we find the fire rod here in Palace of Darkness, but that ice rod will be required on Sick Kid.
All right, and we already have that bottle and the knowledge of where it is, and I guess we could call that a death warp.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be faster than walking back, so it's definitely a good death warp to take.
Perhaps it wasn't intentional, but it does give him the refill. So that's both our rods checked off of the list. A unique item is in Blind's hideout. We've already seen that. Alright, we're heading deeper into the Bowlock side of pod. Costs a little bit more money than we're used to, but makes quick work of that room. Unfortunately, the Baris are just not cooperating for him to get through that hellway.
Yeah, once again, it being swordless mode, probably throwing off our runners because, again, you're so used to running through that room, not having problems because you have a sword, but in swordless, don't have that to fall back on.
But before he reached that blue Bari, he decided to go electric.
Ooh, okay, yeah, that would have probably been a problem then.
Just did not want him to go fast at all. Doesn't quite get the bonk set up and now has to deal with these hard hat beetles. Just deciding to stun them to get them out of the way.
Yeah.
Definitely some of the more just annoying to deal with enemies in the game. They are relentless in their pursuit.
Yeah, especially when you try to bonk over that hole to grab the chest, and when you want to go back over, they're just blocking your path, so if you try to jump over to it, you just get knocked in the pit anyway.
Into the pit of death with you as we find a red potion in a bottle. A nice find.
It really is. We're still at the point where hearts or those potions in hard mode would still recover your whole health, so definitely a good find this early still.
Every little bit of free safety is appreciated as where hard mode takes away a lot of it.
It really does.
Alright, and his patience pays off here in 20 rupees. Gets his arrow back, plus another. Another one of those dashes he's used to taking, but now can't. argelxd did make quick work of the mold arm there, and we don't have the big key, so we're not gonna set up a hammer jump. Just another $5 for Dunka, and we'll head on down to the bottom here. And we're gonna go ahead and pick up every one of the most of these rupees. And we get a heart container and the map. So that big key is hiding out in the dark maze or in the hellway here. And there's a $5, so we're heading into the dark maze as argelxd finds nothing in the end of Spiral Cave. One would have to ask where they're headed next. They're starting with a arrival at the house.
And yeah, it looks like BigDunka is going to be setting up that hammer jump you talked about.
It is a key saved.
It is, in retro mode that could be very important.
And does not quite get it there. argelxd gets their map check. Like, okay, definitely need to go to Sick Kid now at some point. Here's hammer jump attempt number 2 from BigDunka, and there we go. Forgets, though, they don't have the key yet.
Yeah, that happens sometimes. Muscle memory takes over, especially if you've done a lot of no major glitches runs.
And just decides to, after picking up the key, decides to instantly turn around. Definitely seems like a little bit of a faster method. Careful not to clear out all of those, because you're going to have to death warp out of here in order to get to the one more fire shot, as those are considered traps and always do 1 heart of damage. He is out to the beginning of the dungeon, and we're going to see the Helmosaur King.
And from the look of things, looks like Argel is kind of following around the same route that Dunka is, which, you know, definitely staying on pace with them, which is definitely good, especially after having that death. But, you know, you gotta think if they keep following this path through the whole race, it could be Dunka's game. So I'm really interested to see some, you know, other divergences in the future.
All right, and Argel does make an extra check for a take, and he finds another one of the key shops. And just remember, as we do not have a sword, we cannot item dash anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
Well, or should I say, we cannot hammer dash. There are a few item dashes that are still available. I think the Kana Samaria punt still works. Alright, and as we make our way back toward the Helmosaur King, look back at where we were in this seed. Not finding a whole, we did find some nice things in the early game. The hammer was our uncle assured weapon. We found the bow in Kakariko Village, as well as the hook shot, and the boots showed up not too much further along the line. The big crux being that the Moon Pearl was on the Lumberjack ledge, so we had to take care of Aga 1. argelxd unfortunately took a death to the first attempt of Aga 1, and that has created the gap that we now see on the screen, as most of the runners have basically gone over the same things that the other one already has. The only difference is Argel has already checked the Zora area, where Dunka has not.
Yeah, it's a pretty accurate rundown of what's happened so far. And as far as other items, we did find the Fire Rod here in Palace of Darkness, and you know, that could be pretty good indication of what we might be seeing next. Heading over probably to the Village of Outcasts and Skull Woods area. Probably take on Skull Woods next.
Though there is a little bit less weight to that play, as the entire left side of the Dark World is our set of pendants.
That is true.
Each town being the green.
That is true. That is very true. The only thing is, like, as far as the other dungeons are concerned, we can't really access any of them right now. So, I mean, those may be the places to go just because of that.
It's just unfortunate that you were kind of forced that direction, though. I do believe with that Fire Rod find, we're still missing the Titan's Mitts to get us into Ice Palace.
Yeah, still missing those Titans. That'll definitely be the next big find that we'll pick up at some point.
All right, with Dunga having Palace of Darkness down, where are you off to next?
He is starting at Sanctuary, so I imagine this is going to be the left side of Dark World being taking a look at.
Oh, dashing without a sword.
Mm-hmm. But before Dunka goes to the Dark World, there is one pickup he knows he needs to make here in Sick Kid's house. because Sick Kid is going to have our Ice Rod.
One could say he definitely caught a cold off of that wind from Death Mountain.
Yes, he did.
All right, and Dunka's making their way up toward the Dark World portal, and we'll see where they decide to run into next. A lot of checks available, 2 items, or at least 2 items, if not more, in Skullwoods. I'm not 100% familiar with the item logic with the retro mode here, and of course quite a bit of checks available in the Thieves' Town. So all of them are pendant dungeons.
From what I remember, there's only 2 small keys in Skullwoods. The one small key that's always a small key is still going to be a small key just to prevent soft locks. So I think it's just 2 additional items here.
All modes are crazy, but one thing is assured: you'll always find a small key in that bumper room of Skullwoods, because no one wants to get stuck there.
Yeah, for sure.
Right, next check is Skullwoods here, finding the compass. As Argel chooses to farm a few less rupees, but he is sitting in a really good position money and key-wise, still at 8 keys despite making their way through the Palace of Darkness right now, at well over 1,000 rupees.
He must definitely feel a little comfortable with that money amount, especially knowing that he has checked Zora and did a hard reset, so knows he won't have to spend half of that on Zora later on, so must feel good about that at least.
He's definitely played the money management portion of this mode a little bit better than BigDunka. At least that's the way it feels right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing with retro mode that's been added that you typically see with many other like RPG randomizers, is having to worry about currency, something you normally don't think about while playing A Link to the Past.
Yeah, you really don't. And, it gets to that point, like, obviously that won't really be a factor here because it's hard mode and we can only use silvers on Ganon. But I know one time when I was, doing retro mode, like, I used silvers for a lot of enemy clears, especially in Ganon's Tower, and then just kind of using those and seeing my rupees go down, I'm like, oh, right, I can't do that. So it definitely throws a wrench into the works, so to speak.
And just having to play almost considered by some to be like a key sanity light, as you have to worry about the key logics working out a little bit differently. Though we're not going to have to comb every corner of their map finding every one of the big keys, but just not as efficient key clears as you're used to.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, looks like Dunka can take a Death Warp, and next up on the list, gonna probably check and see what's on Mothula.
Give
or
a
not.
hug for the best hugs. He's deciding to walk away.
He may have been doing his item counts. He may not have the big key or map, and might know that the rest of the items aren't important, so may just be skipping that for now, because why work yourself to death on Mothula if you may not be required?
Could come back interesting, and then let's just take a look here at what could be on the pedestal that would hold us back.
Well, it can't be Samaria, because Misery Mire's a pendant.
The mirror.
The mirror is definitely one that comes to mind.
It looks like, honestly, that's the only thing I could see, unless there's, like, magic powder leading to mirror.
Yeah, or, we obviously haven't seen medallion requirements either, so it could be one of the medallions we don't have yet, so...
There have to be... That would mean the dungeons would have to be separate ones.
Yeah, definitely.
Or it could be the Book of Medora that would give us our access to desert.
That's true. Yeah, that's also something that could come into play as well.
And it makes it a little bit more rude, as you won't be able to actually read what the pedestal is before you pull it.
Yeah.
And while Dunka waits, they look to see if they can maybe get a refund of their bomb there, as we find another heart container in the brewery. We're getting to be in a fairly comfortable spot health-wise, getting close to finishing our first row of hearts.
Ooh.
The chess game coming up to be quite the great gamble. That was huge.
Yeah, that's a lot more arrows he has than he had a few minutes ago, that's for sure.
Or a lot more keys available. It helps bring him a little bit closer to the key counts. Interesting the dungeon here. That puts Argel at a 2-key advantage after finishing the Palace of Darkness.
Oh, that's interesting.
As the Helmstor King decides not to cooperate here for Argel. Losing a little bit of their extra money, but still feeling pretty good about that kill, and down goes the Helmstor King.
Meanwhile, gonna get 2 more checks here in Thieves Town. Ooh, even more arrows here.
It's definitely raining money on us now, not having to fight with it being a poverty seed on top of Retro and Swordless. It looks like BigDunka is going to go ahead and decide that the first 4 checks are all of the Thieves Town he wants to see now.
Yeah, I guess so. So there could be something buried a little deeper in the Thieves Town. BigDunka looks like it's going to be going south to take on the digging game and following it up with a visit to Old Stumpy. I think that's about it in terms of all we've seen right now.
Well, he still has the Zora area. He has not seen Agina, I don't believe.
Yeah, I don't think he is. You're right.
So he still has a few checks before he goes and full dives these dungeons. And we get bombs as our prize here, and he's going to go ahead and save and quit out. Where is he going to head to next?
I think he's making that Zora play as you were talking about.
I still don't think he's checked any of the flipper locked locations as of yet. Interesting he doesn't decide to pick up a key or 2 while he's over here. But then again, if he's setting up for Zora, that's the better play.
Yeah, and again, hard reset as well, so you don't want to buy something and then end up having to hard reset anyway. And yeah, chat pointed out something very, very important. Argel did not actually purchase the wooden arrows at the shop yet. As you can see, he can use arrows just fine, but in order to use those silvers on Ganon, he will have to actually make that purchase at some point.
There was a bug in the retro mode discovered at the start of this tournament, and all runners were made aware of it. So it is being allowed for use. However, in order to access the silver arrows in Ganon's room, you must buy the wooden arrow to turn the switch on.
Yeah, definitely.
It was decided to allow this to prevent accidental usage disqualifying a runner.
And see, this is actually going to be a little good for Argel here. He is actually opting to skip Skull Woods for right now. We'll get a little bit of that time back as Dunka is going through to check out a few other locations.
So at least it is skipped for now. It really just depends on where our next item for progression is hiding. And he's going into at least cracking open Thieves Town. We'll see how deep he decides to go, if at all. And Dunka's going to go ahead and buy a few keys here. One can only hope at some point he remembers to purchase that wooden arrow. And as we get a little bit of recursive checks and key farming, I want you to take a look at the links in chat and give these guys a follow. They're putting themselves out there for our entertainment and yours. So at least you can do them and show them a little bit of love with a Twitch follow.
Yeah, definitely. And as we mentioned before at the beginning of the race, this is a very, very important race for BigDunka. If he manages to get the win in this race, he will be advancing onto the bracket stage of this tournament. If he takes a loss, he still has another chance in the form of a tiebreaker that must be earned by current third place runner of the group, Kern, who needs 2 more wins to also kind of get to that 9-win level that Dunka is currently on. So yeah, Dunka needs this to assure that he will make the brackets no matter what. If he doesn't, has another chance, but you know, a lot's going through his mind. He more than likely doesn't want to have that tiebreaker. He wants to move on to the next stage of the tournament.
Absolutely, you would rather take the assurance than the chance. All right, argelxd is going to go ahead and pick up their big key for Thieves Town now. What do they decide to do next? That could prove to be a pivotal point, and it looks like he's going deeper.
Meanwhile, Dunka does find a bottle on old Stumpy here, and it's looking like at this point, progression is more than likely going to be here in Thieves Town.
And Kern does bring up a good point that yes, Maximum Barnage is in third place. However, they are locked there because they have already completed their races.
That is true. My apologies for the mistake.
That's okay. They're locked in, but Kern has the chance to move up. But it really just depends on what BigDunka and argelxd do tonight.
Yes, exactly.
It looks like we're gonna get our mushroom turn-in from on BigDunka's side. I don't know if he's set up to potentially save that for a fake powder. And it looks like he did so. And we find out that on argelxd's side that there's some cash in the Palace of Darkness. Thanks, game.
Yeah, unfortunately, we already came from there, so not exactly helpful information for us.
And argelxd demonstrating that these awful geckos that do way too much damage for their own good can be just easily dispatched by that hook shot. As we get to see some of the overworld changes because of the death of Agawan. That's a lot of those crows.
Yeah, and it can be a very unfortunate too. Also, Ether Medallion here on the Desert Ledge, so that could be an important medallion we might need for later.
Or it could be nothing. We don't know yet. We have yet to see, and we have yet to see a medallion requirement.
Mm-hmm.
But that's one less item that could be on. I guess that it still has a chance. That's one less item that could be pedestaled. As BigDunka gets their news of the 5 rupees on Agina, we have to see where they're going to head to next with the things that they've chosen to abandon. Or that they can access. As we get a nice refill here for argelxd. Still nothing found here in Thieves Town. I'm going to head on over to the big chest. And just the compass, so we have 1 item left to check on Blind the Thief. Definitely say, of the 3 pendant dungeons, this is probably the one you're going to clear. It has the most items, and it is the Pendant of Courage. So that opens up the extra item from Saucer Hollow. And it looks like BigDunka is heading up toward the Catfish. Another check that we have not seen yet. And here comes Hammer Blind.
So are we gonna have our item here at the catfish or on blind? Looks like we're at these two final locations here.
I can't think of much else that could be holding on to something of progression. A little bit harder to stick to the standard script here with the hammer hitbox. And down goes blind.
And blind gives us a heart piece. Checking out the catfish now.
Oops, I had my pendants wrong.
The mirror from catfish.
All right, so finally some progression gained. All right, an hour and 5 minutes in, and we spent a lot of time moping around the dark world, hoping to find some progression, and finally, Catfish had it.
Yes, it did, and it's, you know, kind of annoying. You always kind of want to have the mirror before you do dark world stuff, especially with the Village of Outcasts and that general area, because there's so many mirror spots in that area. But BigDunka looks like he's heading straight for the south, because now that we did find that mirror, we have full access to a completable swamp.
There's a lot of items hanging out in there. We know that we won't have to worry so much about the big chest, as that has some cash, but if you find it early, it does open up. I would say if you find the big key right away, you open that on the way.
Yeah, definitely. And
being retro.
You know, yeah, if you find it, on the if you do not decide to go to the left side of swamp and you find it in kind of those first few chests, it's very easy to just go ahead and quickly just open the chest, get some arrows when you're kind of bypassing it to go to the end.
All right, argelxd is going to go ahead and pick up a few keys here. They they can buy 14 more of them if they truly wanted. This seed has definitely been kind in regards to cash so far. And there's our early big key.
So yeah, definitely be a good idea to just kind of open that chest when you're going by the big chest, just to get some extra cash.
And there's another small key, so we're heading on further. Still looking for those Titan Smiths. Still looking for some kind of access to the Desert Palace. Also the Cane of Samaria. That access could be either through the Book of Medora or the Flute, as Misery Mire is a pendant.
It is, but as you mentioned, it could be a back way to Desert Palace as well, so, could potentially be our only way to access Desert Palace if that book never comes up.
Could be curious to see how long we go without finding one of our accesses to desert, and therefore, when we complete that, our access to the Pyramid Fairy, which we know is holding on to a unique item. Whether that's useful or not has yet to be seen. I'm not even sure what the single arrow becomes in retro mode.
Probably a 5 rupee, because arrow is 5 rupees. That's what I would imagine anyway.
Be curious to say, I would imagine that's probably the case. Argo decides to pick up a red potion while he's here. And then hard resets anyway. And one of the little added benefits to retro mode is you can flood the key here and not have it cost you, and actually save you a bit of time here in Swamp Palace.
Yeah, that is true. That is very true.
I believe that's what he just did.
Mm-hmm.
One of the few times you can do that and not consider it a mistake, but a time save.
Yeah, really.
What is usually a monumentous loss of time is actually a gain, which is something you don't see often, but such is retro and just the many different ways that we can now play the amazing game that is A Link to the Past. Here we are almost 30 years later, and we found new ways to make this same game amazing. Definitely props to those developers out there.
Yeah, it really is amazing. Just kind of looking at kind of like the base game in general and how you could develop a randomizer with all these different variations and stuff. It really shows how versatile the game is. That even after all these years, you can still kind of find new ways to play, and that's one of the things I really love about retro mode, and also love about inverted mode, because they're kind of just taking the base game and adding more, substance to it. So it's definitely a cool way to just continue playing this game, even after you've played it so many times before.
Yeah, but it looks like Argel is going to go ahead and is starting to clear Skull Woods. So the time they had gained from not checking it earlier has just been lost. And I've never seen the Gibdo follow like that.
Yeah, sometimes those Gibdos can be a little annoying.
Alright, a couple more checks into Swamp Palace for BigDunka here. Heart piece and a $5. So we're making our way to everyone's favorite slideshow fight.
And unfortunately, that slideshow fight is pretty much required in this swordless variation.
Definitely the most efficient way to take down Argus. Be interesting to see how well they perform in setting up double strikes with the hammer on those Argies. All right, everyone. I'd like to show you now the slideshow of my favorite boss fight. On this slide, you'll see the hammer. On this slide, you'll see the hookshot.
One thing that makes this worse is the way of the items he does have. Because of this, he has to go through his menu in a very awkward order instead of just like hitting up twice and then over once, or over once and up twice.
And that's one thing about The Link to the Past, is the menu is a little dated and awkward.
He's being patient though, so he is getting this fight done.
And sets himself up for another double here. Alright, the final two Argies are down now. It's just can't quite set up the usual quick kills. We don't have a sword, but next two quick fire rod strikes. And down goes Argus.
And we get a map and our crystal, so where did we get bottlenecked this time?
Well, we did not find anything here in Swamp.
So we know there's something on the graveyard. I'm guessing we haven't seen Cave 45 yet, so that could be our next bottleneck here.
Yeah, Cave 45 is one of the mirror locations left, as Argel unfortunately gets grabbed by a Wallmaster. I was going to go ahead and head in through this maze. The developer intended way to pick up a few extra refill.
Okay, so what are we going to find here in K45?
Just a 20. So what is left for us to find more items? What has gone unchecked for BigDunka here?
Oh, okay. One thing that is available is King's Tomb. We do have the mirror now.
No, he's not currently set up to do so unless he dips back into the Dark World.
Yeah, and I think that's where he's going.
Interesting to choose. Oh, so he had to abandon that portal because of the Titan's Myths rocks that are in his way.
Yeah.
Alright, and argelxd is getting our first check of Mothula, which could be holding on to our progression, possibly?
I'm actually not sure, because I thought that we still had the big key and map left to find still, but I could have been wrong.
But even if that was the case, the big key say that the big key is on Mothula here, and there's another or the map. I don't know. There was some kind of point I was gonna make, but I think I.
Oh wait, no, we have the map. Okay, so there is an item either here in the big chest.
All right, down goes the moth, and we have the big key, so we have to do a little bit more searching. But there we have the second pendant for argelxd. No book yet, so we can't check if that puts him 2/3 towards a hype item on the pedestal, but we will see. Still quite a bit of game to complete here. He's going to go ahead and make this check. Unfortunately, it will come up with nothing, and I'll have to take the slow way out. All right, here's our King's Tomb check for BigDunka to see what trove our former ruler was holding on to. And that's just a 5er.
Okay, so I'm guessing big chest here in Skull Woods then, because Dunka did not check the big chest in Swamp, but we know that was rupees from a hint we got. We know that he's checking this, but I believe we also have a hint that this was not anything relevant either. I think it was just a piece of heart, so...
But that was quite a while ago, so it's easy to forget that one.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Or, considering it's hard mode, you may just pick it up anyway since you're here.
That's true, yeah, it is hard mode.
It did complete his heart container. So, like, you're here, but like, wait, this is a piece of heart. I'm at 3 pieces. Let's fill my heart container. Unfortunately, mirror bonks there. Alright, the moment of truth for Argel. Is this something we need? A little bit more difficult time setting up the bomb jump as
Ooh. Dash just a bit too late there.
Interesting to choose to take this less guaranteed route and just not taking the developer. And there's the Titan's Mitts.
There we go. Okay, so Argel does have the next line of progression. Well, actually, he doesn't have the mirror yet, though, so he still has to go to Catfish at some point to get his mirror, but that is going to be an item that will... that is an item that Duncan needs to progress as he goes back into Thieves Town to clear out the rest of it.
So if Argel can somehow find his way to Catfish soon, that would open up quite a lead for him here. But it will just depend on how long it takes for him to decide that he needs to go there.
He also has to clear out Swamp as well, and, you know, he could opt to save that until, you know, he's in go mode and knows he doesn't have to check much, but with how many items there are in Swamp Palace, that may not be something he'll consider.
Well, we did open up the Dark World Death Mountainside with the Super Bunny Cave and Hookshot Cave. But it looks like he's starting with a Smith Chain.
Also gonna check out the hammer pegs over here too.
Both checks we have not seen yet. Does not have the mirror yet, though. Which we know is hiding out on Catfish, so really, at this point, seeing what we've said, this is still anybody's race.
Yeah, Dunka's done a lot of overworld searching at this point, so it can't be too long before he decides to, you know, go back into Skull Woods to get that Titan's Mitt. But, you know, Argel definitely does have that one item over BigDunka. Could opt to go to another location, like you said, Dark Death Mountain, or even Ice Palace. Ice Palace, I believe, is now open to us, so, you know, could be some valuable items in those. Could find the seed solution from that? We'll have to see.
Now we're still looking for the Cane of Samaria. We're still looking for some access to Desert Palace. So a lot left to find, but a bit of the gap has closed depending on where the items lay out and how long it takes Argel to find their mirror and Dunka to find their Titan's mitts. This has just become a bit more of an interesting race.
Yeah, I was waiting for a divergence, and I'd say this is definitely one of those.
All right, as we find out, the Smith just made 5 rupees for us. Just as a reminder for the stakes, if you're just joining us now, an hour and 20 minutes in, BigDunka needs to win this race to assure themselves a spot in the bracket stage. A win here by argelxd does open up the chance for the current fourth place runner Kern to catch them if they win out their last 2 races, forcing a tiebreaker.
Yeah, it looks like Argel is going straight up to Death Mountain to start looking at the items we have up here.
Quite a bit available to them, and we will finally see finally get a chance to peek at our first medallion requirement an hour and 20 minutes in.
Now, I know Dunk has seen the Ether Medallion on Desert Ledge. I don't know if Argel's seen that yet, so...
I do not believe so, but they will have to make their way over that way eventually, as Desert is our other 5-6 crystal, and Dunka is having a little bit of issue with the blind fight. The hammer makes it a little bit more difficult to stay on script. Has to go ahead and burn their red potion they picked up earlier. And finally, down goes Thief as he shows him a piece of his mind, picks up his heart piece, and his pendant of wisdom. And we missed on Argel's side, but that's Kane.
Yep, we have Cane of Samaria and the book, so that's our desert access and our Turtle Rock access, assuming we have the medallion. So Argel may just need Mirror now, but we'll see what Turtle Rock is our medallion we need for that.
Well, that goes ahead and I think that will go ahead and almost put the nail in the pedestal coffin. Unless, yeah, that will go ahead and nail the pedestal coffin shut.
Yeah, Argel still needs to find out where Ether is and needs to pick up the mirror at Catfish, but those are the last 2 items he needs to be on his way. Dunka is heading back into Skull Woods, so once he beats Mothula, gets the big key, we'll be able to get his Titan's mitts and, has a chance to be on the same path that Argel is right now.
And I have to think, with finding all the things that he did, it's going to take Argel just a little bit longer to find that mirror, as he's just opened up a lot of extra checks for himself.
Yeah, it looks like he is going to the desert area, so he will notice the Ether Medallion right away. That'll be one of his 2 items knocked off, but that Catfish is quite out of the way at this point.
Sees his Ether coin, knows he's going to need it. Reads his book, and he's going to go head on into Desert Palace. So correct me if I'm wrong, but are we now in a no mode?
I believe we are, yes. At this point, we are definitely in that no mode state.
Alright, so all items required for progression are now known to us. Big difference is BigDunka has the mirror, which we know is on Catfish, and argelxd has got the Titan's mitts, which opened up their Cane of Samaria and the book. So we could be looking at a fluteless seed, interestingly enough.
Yeah, we really could be. So Dunka's going to be getting his Titan's mitts shortly. Really curious to where he's going to go after that, because if he goes straight up to Dark Death Mountain, to check those locations, he will be pretty much in a go mode state, since he knows where Ether Medallion is.
When he picks up with those Titans to pick up, I mean, where else is left for him to check except for like starting that Smith chain?
Well, Ice Palace would be a potential location.
That's a bit of a gamble, but it's something if you're looking to maintain your position, a gamble you may take.
And at this point, Dunka's cleared like quite a bit of the game as it is. So even if he did go to Ice Palace, he really wouldn't lose like a whole lot of time, especially since Argel has that possibility to check that as well. But yeah, he can't get into Desert, he can't get into Misery Mire, and he can't get into Turtle Rock yet either. So, you know, at some point the Dark Death Mountain is going to be calling his name.
But there's a bit of a nice find as argelxd has found the bug net. Normally not something you weigh a lot of foundation into, but we're swordless, and we still have to face Aga too.
That's true.
So depending on when Argel sees, goes into Desert and maybe potentially go modes, that they could potentially skip that big chest.
Yep, this is very, very true.
A lot of interesting scenarios are playing out before us. It really comes down to who finds their go mode first. You would have to think it would be Dunka at this point.
Yeah, especially considering his 2 items he needs are pretty much in the same area. So once he goes there, like he's going to be in that state before he knows it.
In an area that definitely is a play that that is high percentage.
Mm-hmm.
And one more key picked up, and we'll head on back toward the Land Molus. Be interesting to see how he decides to tackle this fight with that lamp pullout. I'm thinking he's thinking fire or ice rod.
Yeah, that would be a fast way to kill those guys without having to dip into your rupees. So,
or have to deal with hammering Land Molus.
Don't remind me.
I don't know if I'd even attempt it myself. I'll believe that, because as a competitor in this tournament yourself, you are a much far better runner than I. And Hurdle unfortunately deals with the fact of hammering Land Molus. And we're gonna get our first purple chest check. We know it's not something we need for go mode.
It could end up giving him like something like Flute, which would push him over to Desert Palace earlier, but
just a big
nope,
20.
Mr. Red Rookie.
Alright, and finally, down goes Land Molus, getting down to a heart and a half. But there's his other 5-6 crystal. Now that's another place where he could think his mirror is hiding, as we did get the hint earlier that a unique item is in the Pyramid Fairy.
That is true, and that could put him on the right route towards Catfish too, because when you check Pyramid Fairy, like Catfish is not too far away, so that could be actually a good find for him at this point.
And he is setting himself up toward that check, going ahead and starting himself at Link's house.
Meanwhile, Dunka did go to Death Mountain, so he is going to be approaching Dark Death Mountain shortly. Will not be able to open or do anything with Turtle Rock until he goes back down and get the Ether Medallion, which is on Desert Ledge, but he will have that information. He knows that once he gets that book or flutes, which it would be book in this case, he can go ahead and get that and essentially full clear the game after he gets Samaria.
He will put himself in no mode after clearing out these checks on the desert, on the Dark Death Mountain. Because he was the runner to earlier see that Ether coin hanging out on the Desert Ledge.
Yes, exactly. Now, one unfortunate thing of Mirror being your go mode in this case is that, well, you can't go the faster route to the pyramid with the Big Bomb, and we have Aghanim defeated too, so we could have used that if we had the Mirror, but unfortunately we have to go all the way around this way.
Zargle is just having a little bit of difficulty getting that escort mission done. There's a green potion for him. I like I did mention that earlier. And there's his literacy. That's putting BigDunka into a no-mode state. Meaning that he knows where everything he needs to complete the game is, as he unfortunately takes the dive there, but I bet you that was on purpose, as he no longer needs that chest. And the unique item is unfortunately the shovel here.
So let's see. Unfortunately, he is opting to save and quit, so that will put him away from where he needs to be.
And he's heading up to the mountain. Where is he? He's going to Turtle Rock.
He is. I mean, honestly, I would understand the check because it is a high-density dungeon, especially in retro mode, when the 4 small keys get turned into 4 extra items. It's a good check. It's just unfortunately the wrong check in this particular seed.
I mean, if he's the wrong check for finding the mirror, but definitely correct for completing the seed. It will be a bit of a time loss overall because he'll have to make an extra ascent of the mountain.
Definitely.
It really just comes down to how long will it take argelxd to find that mirror. As BigDunka is dashing their way down toward the desert.
Yep, he knows that Ether Medallion is there, and that's going to be his official go mode item, so might as well make Desert the next dungeon you complete.
100% agree for this play, and it bends you so you go ahead and finish up Desert Palace, then you just walk on over and take care of Ice Palace and head up to Turtle Rock and into Ganon's Tower. A nice little loop up the world to finish up this seed, and hopefully, if you're in your shoes, thinking that this is what's going to cement you into your bracket stage. And I missed what that hint read exactly, but it says there's a unique item in a sage's closet. There were actually 2, if I remember correctly.
That may have actually... wait, no, never mind. I was going to say that was the boots hint, but then I realized, oh wait, no, boots weren't there. Never mind. It was flippers and something else.
That would have been the lantern.
Yes.
Make our first 2 checks into the Turtle Rock and finding not a whole lot. He's trying to find the mirror, but we know he will not find it. Alright, we're heading deeper into Turtle Rock as BigDunka is making their way toward the Land Molus. They'll pick up their Ether Medallion along the way here. And right at 1 hour, 32 minutes, and 54 seconds, BigDunka has entered Go Mode.
It's definitely a pretty late go mode, but, you know, considering basically being bottlenecked twice, essentially, in this seed, it's definitely not surprising, but, you know, the rest of the game is going to go pretty fast. Go moding Ice Palace will, you know, not take much time at all. Turtle Rock, actually in Retro, Turtle Rock becomes pretty fast because you'll have all your keys before you go in the dungeon, so you can get through that pretty quickly as well.
And unfortunately, Argel gets two unfortunate pieces of happenings there, as they not only took a death, but found another fetch quest in the magic powder. Another thing that'll bend them away towards that catfish that is holding on to their mirror.
And at this point, that mirror is the only thing Argel needs in this seed. So, Randomizer generally comes down to just that one item you need, that one item that's just like, this is what's stopping me from completing this seed, and it can take a very long time to find that item.
Oh, absolutely. Is it? And if you wanted to look back at earlier today, a race that I called earlier today, where the last item was in one of two locations, both on our screen at the same time. It's just one of those things where such is the nature of Randomizer, where we end up looking for one last piece of the puzzle, and
Yeah, definitely. Heck, you could almost say that was kind of the case of this seed too. Like at one point, we're at like one place where it's like, okay, either one of these two locations has what we're looking for next, and one of them was right, the other one was wrong. So
it's just a part of the game being randomized. There's a logic to it, but it especially with the Ganon objective set, there is more of a chance for a divergent call being the difference in the game.
yeah, definitely.
It's definitely why you saw, at least in the early stages of this tournament, a lot of all dungeons selected, which was created just to kind of knock off that whole this not wanting to dive pendant ice palace being the thing that screws you out of a win.
Yeah, exactly. All dungeons is definitely more of a test of kind of execution and less of routing. Not that it's not important to route yourself through the game as well, but it definitely leans more towards execution when you get to all dungeons.
ALTTPR is still making their checks through here, hoping to find the mirror, but will not be the case. And here we're gonna go see a Go Mode Ice Palace from BigDunka here.
Yeah, which is something we may not see from Argel, depending on how he decides to route this. We will see a Go Mode Swamp, which is pretty quick. So that will definitely save a little bit of time in terms of Swamp over Dunka, since Dunka full cleared it. But, at this point, like, he kind of has to go get that mirror as soon as possible.
That's really one of the cruxes here. As one thing to point out, if he does make that catch, he will have the bug net over BigDunka, which makes the Aga 2 fight just a little bit easier.
There's still the giant elephant, or I guess I should say pig, in the room of the Ganon fight. That's also going to be a pretty hefty test of execution, especially when you have Swordless in front of you.
Now, we do have to make those hits with the hammer, and everyone knows how entertaining the hitbox can prove as Argel takes a death, but I do believe he dipped out to the safety room as he was so low, the safety exit as he was so low on hearts to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely the smart play here. 2 checks left to make on Laser Bridge. We get a burrito. And if you are a argelxd fan, like I'm sure Kern is, we are hoping to not find a flute here.
Yeah, unfortunately, the flute find would add a possibility of dipping in the misery mire. And we talked about this before. At the time when we were talking about that pedestal, the Swamp Palace is a crystal, so Argel could be thinking that Mirror could be on the pedestal. So if he sees that flute, he may opt to take that chance and go for it.
And he does have he did already complete one of our pendants, or two of our pendants. So completing Mire would be his pedestal access.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much.
He does have the book. He would be able to check it, but did not have it when he was up in the area. Looks like he's going to go ahead with 3.5 hearts, take the safer route, especially with the hammer. Unfortunately, missing a couple ice rod shots here. He's going to have to be careful with his magic taking down the fire. The ice head, and that's a hit he took.
He does
Waiting
have a
which potion
green
to
potion.
chug. takes a couple more shots, ice rod shots, and then takes his blue. As BigDunka is going in and trying to fight these puffs and uses up all all the magic he has and still has to take down one of the Cold Stare puff balls.
He did have a very nice splash damage there on his last shot. It was able to take down the first two heads with his last shot. So did make that a little easier. Gets his crystal. Now he has just Turtle Rock remaining.
argelxd is having a little bit of issues with our friend Trinex here, but has to be careful. A couple more missed shots, and this fight is over for him.
Ooh, and unfortunately, Trinex dashes into him right there, so doesn't get another shot on him. Looks like he does take down the Ice Head, though, so just has to do the final phase to get through this fight.
He has quite a bit of ice he has to deal with here. As well as, if he takes a hug, it's over. He has no safeties left.
He has to be very, very careful and very, very patient about this.
And
Does get him down, though.
Trinex. It was a tough fight, but definitely well done.
You know, just don't be rewarded with the flute.
The red boomerang. Alright, so that is Trinex down for Argel. Please, if you're an argelxd fan, try to send your energy to him 20 minutes in the past and say, go to Catfish. As BigDunka is going to go ahead and open up their Turtle Rock, just a go mode Turtle Rock here, a little bit faster with the way the key was laid out and being that this is retro mode.
I think we're going to be seeing a shovel check here from Argel.
One could not blame them with what they have left. I'd imagine probably a magic bat is afterward. And BigDunka is making their way through and finds their big key, so they can just go straight gunning through the rest of Turtle Rock here.
Yeah, very, very convenient place for that big key to appear, especially in retro.
You can go ahead and skip the fire rod puzzle and forget the bridge. Unfortunately, can't quite get off the Samaria block.
With how many keys he has, he can also skip the basically that left side of the lava room and go straight towards the back at this point.
I think he's still sitting enough where he'd have enough small keys to do his clear of Ganon's Tower as a magic bat curses Argel with $20.
Yeah, I believe the magic number for Ganon's Tower in retro mode is, you want to have 2 small keys when you enter Ganon's Tower, because there are quite a number of small keys you can find, like in pots and stuff, at least 3. So, you can get a lot of keys just from that alone, so those will be fine.
I mean, Argel is making their King's Tomb check, but I thought they had already been here.
No, that was Dunka that checked this.
Okay, just seemed to be somehow this had occurred to me, but
It's fine, it happens.
Alright, then they're gonna head and keep heading to the right side. They're in the area they need to be, but not in the right world.
One of those moments where you wish it would have been inverted. Oh, but you couldn't use your mirror, so never mind. Damn.
He needs that mirror.
Yeah.
He's gonna go ahead and pick up his potions here. Those safeties a little more expensive in retro, but at this point, where he's sitting monetarily and key-wise, he's in more than good enough shape. is going to go ahead and save and quit, and Duncan is going to go ahead and dive down toward the laser bridge just for the safety room.
Yeah, a death on Trinex would send you really, really far back, so this is a good thing to do before you fight him.
Oh, well, with only currently 3 hearts to his name, and having to fight him with the hammer because it's swordless. Oh boy. And here comes the unfortunate Ice Palace dip for argelxd. And we are going to see the hint tiles checked lately for Argel, which BigDunka paid no mind to.
Yeah, at that point you wouldn't need to. You're in go mode, you have all you need, you have even like the silvers, so just not really concerned about that.
Alright, and BigDunka go ahead and starting their next fight, thus far having a little bit better of a time than Argel did. Wasn't able to switch to the hammer quite yet because you can't menu during an explosion. But the ice head takes direct damage from the fire rod as well. And down goes the fire head. He's sitting in a really good position, 4 hearts left, and the hammer swings. We're just a few hammer swings from sending us into Ganon's tower, where we'll have something to do along the way.
Ooh, does take a bit of a hug from Trinex there. Gonna opt to use his blue potion now, just to be safe.
Definitely can't blame them for taking the safety there. And down goes Trinex. And we can go ahead and set ourselves up for a little bit of extra fun for us. This is the Link to the Past Randomizer Big Key Guessing Game. Get those guesses in chat. Any number between 1 and 22 is where that Ganon's Tower Big Key could be hiding. You need not be a sub or supporter of the channel to get your guesses in. You need only put in a number. You will be put. There is a leaderboard available to all. If you the leaderboard works a little bit differently. It's not based on wins, but on a point system that scales off of how many total participants there are in the game itself. Get your guesses in quickly, as we're almost to the tower now. All right, and what are you thinking, Slim?
I always have to go with number 8. 8 is my classic choice for this.
I'm a fan of 17. All right, get those last guesses in, because we're ascending the stairs now.
So at this point, even if the key ended up being in his absolute last location, Dunka does have a pretty nice buffer working with right here. Because Argel, as we know, still has to find that mirror and still has to go through Swamp Palace as well as Ice Palace, which is what he's currently working on. So definitely has a nice buffer of time to work with here.
All right, the first 2 checks coming up dry.
And looks like he is going to the right side first.
And our Mario block puzzle completed. Check number 3, some bombs. Number 4, more bombs. Number 5, that would have been a sword. Number 6, bombs.
Well, very explosive room there. So next up, I believe this is location number 7. And there is the big key on top of the torch.
All right, and with that, I will give a congratulations to Shinya Kasa, who is the winner of the Ganon's Tower Big Key Guessing Game. And they get 7, and they will score 27 points because of how many people are in the room. Let's go ahead and check a look at the leaderboard and see where they sit after that win. And that will put them. I'm trying to see where they're at now. That puts them back up into first place. Congratulations to you with 42 points thus far. Unfortunately for those, it is the first person to make that guess.
And with that big key find, BigDunka is starting his ascent up Ganon's tower. Definitely the most execution-heavy place in the game. Also has plenty of rupees to work with as well. Just want to make sure you save 200 for that Ganon fight.
I definitely say he's in a position to do so, though. Down to 2 hearts here, I would imagine he's going to go ahead and dip into this refill room at the end of the hallway. And that's 100% what he's doing. It's because of this room that the developers of the randomizer decided that this is an intended trick, so you will need to do this in order to potentially gain an item in Hookshot Cave. Or to cross that gap in Misery Mire. As argelxd is making their way through Ice Palace. Gonna head on down into their cold stare fight, still looking for that mirror, still needing to make their way to Catfish. Making good use of the pots here in this room to take care of these Azacs. Any little bit helps when you have to face off with these, just the hammer in this room.
Yeah, it's also just a great way to kind of save some of your magic and also save your ammunition as well. You know, just use what's around and use what you can work with, anything you can use. And the pots are perfect substitutes for a lot of those items.
Adapt, overcome, and survive. As we head in toward Lenmo 2. And deciding after that to pull out the hammer, and has to be careful with his heart count here. Changes in mind. He's gonna go ahead back for a few more fire rod shots. And that's the end of his magic. I believe he's still holding onto his green potion.
Just need to be careful. He is down to his final heart now.
Alright, down goes Landmolus. Has to be careful for the fireballs off the Hydra. Alright, gets that get a little bit of satisfaction done in that room. Has to be careful trying to get through this room, as you can't just dash through, no sword. And argelxd, having completed Ice Palace, is now heading somewhere. Maybe picking up their purple chest.
Thankfully, has still not found the flute, so flute must be somewhere within Ganon's tower, I guess. So we'll not have to make that dip in the mire, thankfully.
At this point, that definitely seems to be the case. As he picks up a few more rubies with his stun prize, and uses his green potion, so he has enough magic to complete this room before picking up the full magic decanter that's hiding in the next. So that's the end of Dunka's safeties here.
Yeah, wondering if he might opt just to kind of, even though he has everything he needs, might opt to check some of the chests in these next rooms anyway. See if maybe he can get like a potential heart regen, but nope, looks like he's going to be going forward.
Alright, that's the purple chest turn in. Now, what's next for Argel? Can it possibly be the catfish? That's a mountain cave. No flute find yet. Oh, he has a tablet to check yet. He's not going that way. Well, he doesn't. He has to go the long way because he doesn't have the mirror.
Yeah. Anyway, BigDunka getting ready to fight Moldorm 2 here.
We are nearing the end of this seed. And a quick and easy landmill fight, a little bit better than that. Just about as good as the first time he went through that. Go ahead and hook shot across. Check his last possessions to find another small key. Interesting key placement there.
Congratulations, you made it through retro mode. Here, have a small key.
I imagine Argel will probably, I don't know. They don't have any logical access to Spike Cave, so I doubt they're gonna check that. Alright, here's where the hammer comes into play. Down to 2 hearts.
Yeah, earlier you mentioned that bug net, you know, coming into play. This is where that could come into play. And he does take a death, unfortunately.
And it looks like argelxd is making their way toward Catfish, but they're in the wrong world yet. Makes a save and quit.
Ooh, BigDunka also saves and quits out of Ganon's tower. Might be opting to get some more potions or something before he goes back up.
Yeah, but I'm curious, how do you end up on top of the castle for a second there?
I think he mirrored there from the top of the pyramid because Aga's one's been defeated.
Oh, that's right, you save and quit. One could not blame them for going ahead and picking up the safeties here.
And, you know, Argel is making his way over to Catfish, so he will be getting his mirror shortly.
Unfortunately, it would take another derp at the end of it at Ganon's tower to really give Argel a chance to get back in this race. Unless... Oh, he has a Go Mode Swamp Palace in front of him, and if he goes straight to the left... and instantly picks up the big key.
It's definitely closer than it was a little while ago. That's one thing you can definitely say. And, you know, having the net will definitely net him a better Aga 2 fight. So these are things you gotta consider as well. Execution is definitely a big thing, and swordless plus hard mode really does kind of like change things up quite a bit. So you really have to be careful with a lot of these late dungeon bosses.
Alright, and at 1 hour, 57 minutes, and 10 seconds, that's argelxd's Go Mode. Finally finding the mirror and probably feeling a little frustrated right now.
You know, but at this point, you know, finding your Go Mode item 1 hour and 57 minutes into the seed, like, yeah, you gotta be feeling behind, but at the same time, your opponent still hasn't finished yet, so you have to keep moving forward because you have no idea what could have potentially happened.
And one other thing that has been brought to my attention via chat, BigDunka is down to 60 rupees.
Ooh. Now he definitely knows the stun prize of this seed. He was making great use of that earlier, so he definitely knows that and can use that to his advantage if he needs to.
I would think we're definitely going to see quite a few stun kills here up ahead. Picking up those 20 rupees. You'd almost have to. I wouldn't imagine him intentionally opting into a swordless, silverless fight. And Argel's now making their way in to Swamp Palace.
Oh. That's why. Oh, okay. This is why this is important, because He needs 80 rupees to kill these red mimics.
He doesn't have enough money to take care of the mimics, but he can go ahead and head over to the Stalfos rooms over on the left side here to pick up the money he needs.
Okay, so yeah, he can do this.
You'll have to do a little bit of farming. All of this giving Argel time to catch up.
Yeah, execution will be everything at this stage of the race, and you know, things could happen here. A lot of things could happen here.
The gap is closing with every passing moment that Dunka has to farm. There's 60 more rupees in this room, and there's our flute.
We found the flute, guys.
And of course, he could pick up another large chunk of money off of these chests as well. He has a few checks he can make here. That's half an arrow. And there's the other half of an arrow. Alright, so that puts him in 140. That should be enough to take care of the red mimics. Just has to farm up a 200 on his way up the tower.
And if not, I think he can still, if he wants to, he can farm at the bottom of the pyramid on some of the enemies out there, too.
Sure, there are more enemies available to him to get those 20 rupees. Definitely that stun prize in this seed coming up huge.
Yeah, that was one of the big things about the early game, is that both of our runners had so much money because they realized that stun prize and they were making use of that.
And lucky enough, they give him refunds from the red Gorias in that room.
How generous!
Now, if you're an Argel fan here, you're hoping to see him, once he gets into Ganon's tower, head straight left and instantly get a big key. As we do know it's hanging out on the torch. Go ahead and dip into the refill room here. He's halfway to his money requirement. And there's 80 rupees sitting in this room.
Yeah, all these enemies can be stunned and killed, so lots of money, lots of arrows in our future.
There's 3 more enemies that can be stunned and killed. And I think he got that kill off before the stun ended. Alright, so that's 241. He's one away from having an extra arrow yet. As that BMO statue decides to have his way with him, and that's there's the last 2 Argives pulled off of Argus for argelxd.
That sounded like a tongue twister when you said it right like that.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Did Dunka ever buy that wooden arrow?
I thought he did, but I may have not.
One of our runners bought the wooden arrow. I cannot remember which one it was.
If someone did, it was Dunka, because I know that Argel did not, for sure.
Alright, so that's another thing that Argel is going to have to do on their way up to Ganon's tower. Alright, here we go for our third Landmolus fight of the game. It's almost starting to feel like Randomizer.
Dunka definitely seems like he's in a better health position than he was before, so that's one thing that's probably gonna make him feel a bit better. Could have actually picked up another heart there, too.
Though he is sitting in a pretty decent position at 7 out of his 9 hearts right now. Gonna go ahead and pick up a few more 20 rupees, unfortunately knocking that guard off the ledge. And Argel is making their way up to Ganon's tower. Does not own the wooden air. Oh, he gets lucky. But doesn't decides against it.
I wonder if this is just like, you know, unfamiliarity with the mode. Because, yeah, we were kind of talking about that, you know, that quirk and that bug about the arrows in retro mode. Like, you know, if you don't play a lot of retro, you may have just seen that announcement and not really known what they meant, and could have been, you know, forgotten about that for this particular scenario.
And all of our runners were made aware of this bug quite a while ago into the tournament.
Now it means he could still finish the seed. He just will have to use silverless strats.
Oh, wouldn't that be fun after all of this? And the announcement was made just about a month ago on November 6th, toward the beginning of the group stage.
Oh right, we we already opened the chest, so we don't even have to fight Moldorm.
Yep, just go ahead and skip over that. That's interesting. That bumper seems to be malfunctioning.
A little bit, yeah. Oh, Argel going to the left, so he's going to be getting his big key.
Instant big key get, and if you're in Argel's shoes, that has to feel pretty good. After being run around for the mirror to instantly pick up the Ganon's Tower big key.
Okay, Dunka does get one hit on Aga too.
Gets a blue ball there. Gets another blue ball here, down to 2.5 hearts. So he is sitting on plenty of potions now. Does manage to land another hit, but takes a hit as well. Gonna go ahead and drink his red potion he picked up. Has no need to refill his magic at the moment. Oh, Hammer, why must you be this way?
Again, Dunka had a really nice strategy against Aga 1, but the addition of 2 other Aghanims definitely makes this fight a little more challenging without that bug net, so is kind of unable to use the strats that he used before.
And no lightning cycle to lean on either, for a moment of respite. I'm trying to remember, where was that bug net hiding? It was in a place that Dunka did not need to go to.
It was in Desert Palace, which...
In the big chest.
Yeah, Dunka go-moded that because he had all the items at that point, but Argel did not, so... Okay, he got Aga 2 down.
Alright, and the sorcerer, the second instance of the sorcerer is down. The big pig is a bat and will soon be dropping in to face the King of Bacon himself.
So yeah, now we're going to be fighting Ganon, because we do not have a sword. Also going to take a death just so we can get some of his hearts restored. Not a bad idea. But for the Ganon fights, we can use the hammer in swordless mode, so we can still keep the fight going along. You have to get pretty close to him, though, so you have to be very careful that you don't go in for a Ganon hug while you're hitting him.
So it does set up for some interesting bits of extra damage right here on this bottom section of the screen. Especially when he gains the, starts spinning the See, that is one of the few things you get to do in swordless you would not normally get to do. Is this does not work in a non-swordless mode. It is a nice little bit of setup here. Just have to make your way out of the fire bats.
Yeah, it definitely had a really nice phase 2 there. But oh wait, no, it's still going. Not quite there, but we're almost there.
Takes a fire bat to the face, so he's gonna go ahead and grab his refill. As Argel is climbing their way up the tower. This is the arrow on that Wizrobe there, but this should be the end of phase 2 for BigDunka, almost assuredly.
Ooh, Argel come to the realization. It is hard mode. That red boomerang will not work to stun those enemies.
Alright, there's 2 hits for BigDunka. If Ganon would hold still long enough, we can get a 3rd one in. There's number 3. As a reminder, this RNG is locked, though I think he's actually going to be in a different RNG because he took that instant first death to Ganon.
I believe that is correct, yes.
Did we find the arrows at Hyrule Castle? Oh, yes, we did. Unfortunately, does not get the torch glitch there. Looks like we have a setup for double here, though.
And we get it, just 2 more hits.
Another 50 rupees down, and we're gonna have to reset some torches here.
Ooh, gets the hit just before, knocks him out.
And as the explosions begin, the fanfare plays, the 1x3 bridge is left, all that's left between BigDunka and victory, and a place in the bracket stage. Get your GGs in, chat, because BigDunka has crossed the finish line and finished this race with an official SRL time of 2 hours, 10 minutes, and 54 seconds.
Yes, get your GGs in the chat, folks. Very, very, very difficult run both of our runners had to do. And, you know, I bet it, as struggling as it might have been, it must feel good to get a win in a mode like this and to secure your place into the brackets.
And absolutely, as we wait for our runners to join, as we wait for BigDunka to join us here in chat momentarily, that was definitely one heck of a race.
Yeah, it definitely was.
All right, and it looks like we are joined now by BigDunka in chat. GG's to you.
Oh, that stun pack was the best.
Yes, it was.
I don't mind swordless. I don't mind retro. Never play them together. This is horrible.
Yes.
I can't disagree.
Yeah, especially with the little hard mode placed on top of that too. Like, man, this was definitely a tough seed. But congrats on making it through it. You are into the bracket stage. How does that feel after going through a seed like this?
I mean, it feels good. I'd say that I wish I would have played this a little bit cleaner. I bet it was enjoyable for you guys to watch me do GT twice. But I mean, I think in the end, I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm fine. I never want to play this again. And if I ever get one that is what's the other difficulty? Not insane difficulty, but the expert difficulty. I might as well just set the controller down. I mean, yeah, this is, again, I feel good. I felt really good up until realizing that I walked away from the Titans bits at, like, what was it, an hour or so. And then I was really, the nerves started kicking in at that point. So it was noticeable.
Well, in a way, kind of putting off that location for a while as you did actually did kind of help you a bit because, you know, you opted to go to all those other kind of like one-off locations. You were able to find your mirror way earlier before Argel did, and once Argel got the Titan's mitts, all those mitts locations opened up to him, and it took a while for him to get back to that catfish location. So that's where he kind of gained like a lot of time. Another place where you really kind of gained time, and one thing that we really enjoyed seeing was, kind of your safe Aga 1 strats as well. Played that fight very safe, and it actually worked out because Argel ended up taking a death on Aga 1 because of that, so you gained some time there as well.
I did not know, and I honestly, I've been playing this game since I was a kid. I did not know the blue balls followed you. If you try to dodge them until just tonight. When I was down to 1 heart, because usually hammer Argel's not difficult, but the problem is that the blue balls will generally hit you in the face.
Right.
And I was telling myself going in, if I get down to 1 heart, I gotta play it safe. I know the guaranteed I'll just run away from everything. And then that one I dodged the blue ball and it chased me. I was all over the place, and then I was scared just to death.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it looks like Argel is going to go ahead and take a few of the free refills here, grabbing that fairy from the tree and the extra fairy potion, and gets a red.
So you said yourself you don't really mind, doing swordless strats against Aga and whatnot. Would you have been a little more interested in the net, knowing where the net was?
Yes. Where is it?
It was in the big chest in desert.
Oh man, I was right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would have saved me the death.
Right.
I still would have done potions, but it would have been obviously after Aga 2. So it would have saved 10 minutes. It was one of those things. Aga 1 hammer's fine. Hammer 2 Aga is just a train wreck.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely shows just how much that sword does for you in this game.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things you don't realize it till it's gone. So yeah, this is the first time I've done this combination of the two, and the whole time thinking, what resources do I have? What resources do I have available? The math gets a little jumbly in your head, and buying keys obviously is super important, especially when I hit go mode and realized, I just need to buy the minimum number of keys. I bought 1 extra key just in case I needed to do something additional in TR, but yeah, but then knowing I know I need money going up GT, so I started killing things on the way up, and jeez, it's so much to think about.
I definitely a lot more things to take into consideration when you're going through this retro mode seed. Harkening back to the beginning, how much was it a relief to find that instant hammer?
Oh, it's the best. Hammer and arrows were the first 2 things we found.
Yeah.
I mean, we know we're good for the end game, so yeah, I mean that's great. It's funny, Argel actually he talked to me briefly right before the match started. It's like, you can do hammer swordless on Ganon, can't you? And it's like, yeah, you can. I just wouldn't recommend it. So I'm sure that he was very relieved to see the silvers immediately as well, because apparently he was putting some work into it before, just in case he got stuck with it, and it is not fun.
Though interesting to note, currently for seeing his fight, he is stuck with it because he did not buy the wooden arrow and cannot switch to silvers.
Yeah, I saw that in the IRC after. I saw that, and yeah, that's that bug announcement that went out like the second or third week. That's like rule number 1 of retro is find that shop that sells the arrows of the key and buy those arrows. It doesn't matter when you just buy them, just do it. If 80 rupees is nothing, you'll get it back.
And then I guess going into that, looking for that shop, did the fact that it was swordless weigh into your decision to not check for more of those take any's?
It did until the very, yeah, I mean, I had no intention of going to the take any's. I think I did one early because I walked right by it, and I was like, yeah, this is ridiculous. There's no reason to do it. Getting to the end, though, you kind of think, because, I mean, I was, at 9 hearts at the end there, because there wasn't much for heart containers. I really was starting to rethink that.
And it looks like Argel is just Not having access to the torch glitch, it definitely not setting up for a great fight. But give it credit to them; they are persevering through what is a very tough situation. And and that would be said for most of this seed, persevering through a rather tough situation.
Yeah, I'm kidding.
All right, and it looks with that, we can finally announce that argelxd did elect to forfeit from this race. So get your GGs in chat for argelxd. That was an absolute hellacious seed, and they deserve to get. They deserve a lot of appreciation for all the work they put in.
Well, if you want to talk to him, I'm going to step out. Thanks everybody once again. Appreciate all the guys. You guys are doing just an incredible job through 6 weeks of just. Well. But yeah, thanks everybody. I'm going to go to bed.
Well, congratulations to you for advancing.
Yes, appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. GG.
All right, and we should be momentarily joined by argelxd in the chat. While we wait, what are your thoughts on just the end of that one?
Not too much. Again, as he mentioned, definitely clever utilization of money farming throughout the seed, and especially at the end there. It just kind of all came down to that one mirror location. That was the big thing that kind of kept Argel from making up that distance here.
All right, and speaking of Argel, we are now joined by them in the chat. GG's to you.
Hello, thanks.
That was definitely a seed I would not wish on my worst enemy.
Yeah, in fact, it was my first in my life.
Yeah, adding the combination of swordless and retro is just not fun to anyone. It's unfortunate to see that your end is called that your race is brought to an unfortunate end by the unfortunate part of the bug with retro mode and the arrows itself.
Yeah, when I got silver arrows, I thought I didn't have to buy the wooden arrows anymore.
And it is unfortunate is you do need the buy the wooden arrows in order to activate the switch which was in the tournament announcement, but after going through all you went through, it's an easy mistake to make.
Yeah, I had no time to practice for this match because of a lot of stuff in real life. So I kind of expect to have missed something. I just have read the rules of retro mode, but I missed one.
But barring outside of that, the execution was very well done. A lot of great swordless fights. Finding that bug net definitely that was quite incredibly actually to watch when you finally pulled that bug net out on the Aga 2 fight. The angles in which you were reflecting back, it was actually a lot of fun to watch, I think.
Yeah, watching the race when I finished, I heard you guys saying that I guess, or I read in the comments, but I heard someone saying that the net is better than the hammer for the Aga 2 fight. I didn't know it.
It opens up the possibility of reflecting in multiple directions, and the hitbox on the net is a little bit more reliable, I think, though it does change the timing you have to make. It has a slower animation than a sword swing.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, I was just... Oh, go ahead, Slim.
Oh, I was just going to say, it was definitely a very interesting race to watch. The big thing, really, as you may have probably guessed, considering all that you had to kind of, go around looking for it, the mirror was definitely the big thing in this particular scenario and this race result. Even that AGA 1 death that you had honestly didn't cost a whole lot of time when you consider the fact that Dunka kind of had the same problem with AGA 2, so he kind of had more to climb after that. You were actually the first to discover where the myths were after Dunka pretty much last locationed them too, so it was definitely really interesting to see that difference in your routing and seeing how you both ended at those certain points. It's just really unfortunate that the mirror was kind of not a great item to find when you did, because when you found the Titan Smiths, you just had so many more locations you could check, and it made sense to check all of them because all of them just had more weight to that one catfish location.
Yeah, and without the mirror, I had no reason to go in that direction.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. So that's just something with a randomizer. Sometimes that will be the case for a lot of these races, and it's just one of those things you have to kind of keep in mind, weigh your options, and just kind of move on from there.
Yeah, and
Definitely the plays you made to find the mirror worth a high percentage.
Yeah, and when I skip the catfish thing, I usually don't go there too soon because I know that if something was there, I am in trouble already.
Yeah, understandable.
But yeah, it was a very fun race to me. I'll definitely play retro mode again. I just don't like swordless.
Yeah, I don't blame you, honestly. I don't blame you.
I don't think
like it either.
anybody is going to blame you for hating swordless, especially throwing in retro on top of it. This is just not something that looks like fun, but if you can enjoy it, I definitely hats off to you for persevering through a lot of tough and just not fun situations.
Thank you. Yeah, in fact, the thing I really don't like about swordless is not being able to dash through enemies.
Oh yes.
Yeah, that was something we noticed from both of you. Just through the early parts of the game, you want to dash through all those long stretches of land, but then a guard or another enemy pops up, and it's like, oh, right, I don't have a sword. Well, this is just mean.
Yeah. And about the arrows, I went into a shop in Death Mountain, but I was looking for potions. In fact, I had forgotten completely about the arrows.
Man, that was your last chance too. It was just we're sitting there. Oh, please grab those quick, and it didn't pan out. But all in all, just a tough fight and a great race to watch.
Yeah, I'll definitely watch it later. The VOD.
And as we near the end of your tournament, how do you feel you performed overall as we're getting close to the end of this group stage?
Kind of like I was expecting, because when I entered the tournament, I had a lot of time to practice, but as in the last month I got really without time, so I couldn't practice the different modes. I am very used just to the casual, open, standard.
Absolutely. Sometimes life just steps in the way of these great tournaments, but nice to see that you managed to get you're getting most of your races in, and you're persevering, and I think doing an excellent job.
Yeah, and definitely best of luck on the rest of your races too, if you are going to continue with them.
Yeah, I'll try to. Thank you.
No problem at all. So with that, that's all the questions I have. Any last things to say before we start wrapping this up, Bungie?
Well, definitely, I'll have to say, definitely, if you have not done so already, if you're still sticking around, give these runners a follow. They've put themselves out there and put on a heck of a show. Definitely shout outs to my co-commentator, Slim Kirby, our tracker, Phantom Ice, and our restreamer, the great Mr. Broadstone. We have now at the end of our broadcast day. There should be a fair amount of restreams tomorrow. The schedule has not been published as of yet, but looking at the schedule of what is possible for tomorrow, there is a lot of great races still hanging out there. Still a lot to be decided in this tournament, as we only have 3 full days left of this group stage to get your races in.
That's right. Group L has been determined with this race tonight, but there's still a lot of other groups that are still trying to finish up. Group A, E, F, G, and H. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of random to be played, and even if there's not, well, there'll probably still be some races here to see anyway. So definitely come back to all the speed gaming channels, all of the ALTTP randomizer channels, and this may be the end of the group stage coming up, but we have the bracket stage following not long after, so you can see the continuation of this tournament as it plays out for the rest of the duration.
Yeah, but go ahead, and as you see from our bot there, if you're interested in getting into this, there's the Discord you can join. We're always we'll be looking for more restreamers and more voices going into the future. There will be more tournaments beyond this one, but there's still a lot of fall tournament left to play here. So I am bungeed to the tree,
and I am Slim Kirby,
and I would like to say good night and great rando.
Good night, everyone.